Welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James and also the Brink, and we are one. So today I want to talk about just the experience I've had for the past 2 days, day and a half, technically, with the Steam Deck. Now that being said, I didn't get a whole lot of time initially. I have work and everything else, but I was able to play a lot of games for a few minutes. And that's the thing that I like about the Steam Deck is that I'm able to pick it up and put it down, put it in suspend mode, and go back to it at work or whatever it is after a break, and then pick it back up and play again. It's going to be a game changer for my lifestyle, and I love it. But I will say it might not be for everyone. So I'm going to get into all my initial thoughts. We're going to have a full review in a couple of days on this, but before we do that, make sure to like, subscribe, and bash that bell, and don't miss out on any of the things I have to say. We're going to have games at the end of this, and that's the most fun part about this. This is a gaming device. So let's get into it. Unboxing was fun, and there's a live stream of it. I'll put it in the description. This device, just because it took so long to get, was such a pleasure to unbox. I loved it. It smelled of a Steam or Valve Index, that is, and it is a beauty. A little bit, I will say, the plastic for me, I know some people feel differently on this, feels a little cheap, just for me. And I'm sure it's more of a usability kind of aspect. It's a little bit more rough so that it doesn't slip or anything like that. I like that. I really like this device. That being said, I was in no way underwhelmed with the initial unboxing of this. It was fun. We had a fun time that night, but yeah, it was heavenly to just witness this. Actually lighter than I thought it was going to be, while at the same time a little bigger than I thought it was going to be, even though I've seen plenty of videos and stuff on it. Sometimes you just don't, you need a banana for reference, and I guess you can use me as a banana. Here's the reference. Okay, so the unboxing was fun. Setting it up took a little bit more time. You can watch the live stream, of course, to see a lot of my initial stuff on this, and this is just after a few days, my thoughts. The setting up did take it took a little longer than I was hoping for, but it's always good to phones do it. Most devices these days, when you set up your device, you have updates to install. I recommend doing those. You're gonna have a better experience. And I'd even go a step further and going into your settings and enabling the beta channel for your updates. They are pretty awesome. And one of the big awesome features with the beta, at least right now, if you're watching this, is that you can adjust the refresh rate of the screen and get nice little like 40. I like hitting the 40 frames per second and hertz on the screen. It's the sweet spot for me so far, and I haven't seen too much of a lag. My personal experience. Now, after that, you can start installing games right away, and it's easy. But if we want to get into it, the game mode is what you boot into. I recommend it for a lot of people. A lot of people want like the desktop mode. I think it's awesome that we have it. I would not want it any other way. But game mode, especially if you're a console player, or if you're just looking to play games most of the time, if not all the time, if you're not looking to do emulators, you just want to play off the Steam store, the Steam library, your Steam library, the game mode is your go-to, and there's no reason, in my opinion, to go into desktop mode if you don't want to. It doesn't force you. It doesn't really say one way or another. But you can do it by hitting the power button and then exiting into desktop mode, and then they have a shortcut on the desktop mode that you can then click to get back into game mode. And game mode, I love game mode. I'll be honest, I really like this UI. It could get a little bit more organized. I do think there's a little bit of chaos in it, in that they need better groupings and better indications of what groupings you're in. They do a fine job. It's just, it could be a little bit better, but I do love the UI. I love how smooth it is, how sleek it is. It feels very PC gamer-esque, and it's Steam. I mean, it is what it is, and I love it. But yeah, the game mode. If you're a console gamer, you're gonna like this. And being in game mode, games tend to run most of the time. I had very little issues with it, and they have categories. They do have categories when you go into the library that say great on deck. They have a great on deck thing, if you can see that. And so for console gamers, you're going to be just fine. Really, if you get into this, I really don't think you're going to have too many issues. It's once you want to start doing emulators and other things like that, that you're going to get into the desktop mode. And the desktop mode is, to be honest, very, if you're used to Windows, very reminiscent of Windows or Mac in some ways. It does deviate a little bit because it is Linux. And so some things might not work the same that you would expect. And that just tends to be the way it is. But but this version of Arch and the UI for it is good. I liked it. The only thing I didn't like was kind of how the keyboard worked with it. I'm used to, like, on my phone where I can click on an input, it brings up the keyboard. I unfocus the input and it exits the keyboard. I think that's one thing that they can fix on this. It's probably more of a Linux issue than necessarily Valve issue, but I would like to see something like that instead of having to hit the Steam button plus the X button to initiate the keyboard, and then you can do it to dismiss the keyboard, and then plus on top of that, you can also just close the keyboard with the on-screen keyboard. The touch screen on it, I've heard, is not great. I admit it's not. It will register that a key was pressed, but not actually put it into the input. So if you're trying to put in a password and doing it on the screen, and I because of the phone, I'm trained to do it a little bit more on the screen, so it's a little easier than me using the touchpads. But I'm learning. The touchpads are a little off for me. I think they're amazing way to put the input in for the keyboard. I'm going to learn how to do it. I recommend other people too, because you're just not going to mess up your passwords and stuff like that. You can't see the inputs very well. It's another thing, like with Android and whatnot, they'll usually try to bring up the inputs in such a way that you can see them and see what's being typed in. I think one feature I'd recommend putting into the keyboards is having what's been typed into the input on the keyboard above the keyboard potentially. But this is desktop mode stuff. I don't know how much they're going to support that. They've done a great job so far. Just little nitpicks that it was kind of annoying to set things up on the Steam Deck. I'll to be honest, I think I'm going to continue setting things up with a keyboard and mouse on my monitor with the Steam Deck. The desktop mode is really useful because you can install your emulators. There's flat packs and stuff you can get to do Discord and various other things. I even got VS Code for my programming. There's a lot that you can do with it, and I'm really happy with it so far. And to be honest, I'm surprised at how many things will at least try to run. Even when I downloaded League of Legends, I got pretty far. I got the game installed. I just haven't been able to load it yet. And to be honest, it could just be, maybe it just might take me a little bit more time or find a walkthrough on it. I was really impressed with what they had to offer. So now game mode, desktop mode, those are amazing. I really like they give you the options. I love options, but they're not too forceful or not too, hey, you can't do this in game mode, so you better go to desktop mode. They don't quite do that. They offer good ways. I will say one little weird quirk was when switching between game mode and desktop mode, it felt like it was randomized. Like the internet, so there'd be, when you initially download it, it comes with Firefox on the taskbar at the bottom, or the toolbar, or whatever it is called. Firefox would come up, but then when I installed Chrome through the game mode, then I'd go back into desktop mode. Sometimes Firefox would be replaced with Chrome, sometimes it wouldn't, and it was very random. Very weird little bug. I don't care too much right now, but I could see if you want to mainly use Chrome and you're going to be doing a lot of browsing, I could see it being kind of annoying. So yeah, I will say the modes are awesome. They did a good job. Hardware wise, this is just the keys, everything it's a little mushy at times on the D-pad and the buttons. But I'm used to it already. It doesn't bother me. The track pads are actually, the vibrating on them, everything, like even some of the vibration on this isn't too bad so far. Maybe they did some adjustments. I will do some further reviews on that. This is not the review. This is just my initial thoughts. And this could end up being the review because I'm going so deep into it. I got the quieter one. It still sounds like a laptop. So if you've ever had a gaming laptop and you've been playing a game, it sounds a lot like that, the fan noise. Now, that being said, it's still more quiet than my Razer that has a 2070 Ti in it. So definitely a plus, and it's nothing embarrassing. I would totally play this in public, even with some of the noise. It's not going to bother people too much. It's only if you let them bother you, I guess, that it will might bother you then. So yeah, hardware amazing. That being said, without hardware, you get software to adjust for games, stuff like frame rate, refresh rate of the screen. You get a lot of tools to really adjust just exactly what you can do and what you can get out of this performance wise. I love it. They did an amazing job. It's really easy to bring up, like I showed you, just the option button. It's really easy. Love that. Now let's get into the games a little bit. So with the games, I played a couple. Left 4 Dead 2. Well, I played a lot more than this, but these are the ones I recorded, and you'll have footage here. Left 4 Dead 2, Half-Life, the OG version, Resident Evil 2, Witcher 3, Dead Space 2, but I also played Dead Space 1. That one, it suffers because the way it was built, suffers from some issues on PC. I was getting some lag even at 40, it just input lag. And it was suffering that. I was getting that input lag where essentially you'd move the stick and then it would just delay a little bit. And the reason I say this, that I'm not going crazy, is that Dead Space 2 functioned fine, and it always has for me. Dead Space 1, I've sometimes had to get essentially patches to prevent this type of input lag, and maybe I'll just get used to it. It's enough to where I think I'd get used to it, but it really is annoying, especially if you don't like input lag. Some people played it fine, so I don't know what it is. This should be a consistent experience because the hardware's always going to be the same, and so I don't know why it felt off for me, but it felt like it needed a patch that Windows does offer. So I will also say I got inconsistent frames on some games. Some games really good, other games the highs and lows jumped a lot, and I was a little worried about this like a month ago. Some of those worries were rested to where a lot of games run fine. Some games, even when you lower the settings, can still jump a little bit too much, which is annoying. But to be honest, this is a handheld device. This is, if you really want to not have any stuttering, any issues, then just play it in low or medium, I guess. Now, Left 4 Dead 2 looks great, functioned great. It's a Source game. Of course it's going to. Source just runs well, just no matter what. And Half-Life 2 also ran great. With it, it comes enabled with the gyro. I'm still not sure about the gyro. I ended up liking the touchpad with the gyro, but my aim was still a little off. You can probably see it in my video, but it was still fun. It was definitely something I want to get used to. This is a device that's going to bring a lot of things I am just not used to in a system, and so this is a new era for me. Like gyro, there's a lot of things that I could have done, I guess, up to this point to potentially try doing gyro and all that. But even with the Steam controller, I liked it, but I would never play first-person shooter. I'd always use a mouse. And so with this, it's going to bring a different dimension depending on how lazy I am, and I can get pretty lazy when I've worked a lot in a day. So this is going to be a new experience doing that gyro trackpad option. I really liked it. And Left 4 Dead 2 was just a blast in it. No pun intended. It's just I need to get better at it on console. I really have not, like, and I say console, I meant like with the controller. I'm really used to a lot of these like first-person games on keyboard and mouse. I used to play a lot of Halo and stuff like that on controller. I just need to get back into it. It's been years. Half-Life OG worked fine. It was actually pretty easy, and with the trackpad, it was actually fun. I need to adjust the sensitivity a little bit, but I liked it. I actually quite liked Half-Life 1 with the trackpad. Didn't have the gyro enabled. Half-Life 2 didn't like it so much. It was just hard to aim the gravity gun and all that, but Half-Life I did like with that. Resident Evil 2, awesome. Like if you set the settings, I think the settings come at high or very high. I set them to high, and it could, maybe the settings are synced with my computer or whatnot. I just adjust them down to high and it seemed to work fine. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of stutter. If that's the case, then just adjust them down to medium. They still look so good. Now the footage you see on screen is going to be dependent on the screen you're watching it on. You got to remember the resolution on this only it doesn't go up to 1080 or even past it, right? So if you're looking at this on a 4K, you're gonna be like, wow, these graphics suck. Well, if you're playing it right here in my hand, they're pretty amazing. I am really shocked how well they do at just presenting everything without being blurry. Games on Switch and other devices that I've played, let's say Borderlands 2, I've played that on the Vita, it was blurry as hell. With this, I haven't tried Borderlands 2 yet. None of the games I have noticed yet be that weird texture blurry. It definitely is doing good on the texture side of things. Witcher 3 is a testament to that. It might look like a little bit like a potato on your screen potentially, but on the deck it looks primo. On the Switch, looks like a potato to me. It's like at the lowest settings. With this, I was able to do medium or high. Just depends on what your frame rate is. If you get in a battle, I'm assuming you might want to be in the medium range, but it still looks really good. That being said, Dead Space 1, Dead Space 2, you can max it out. They look great still. Dead Space 1 only needs a remake because of those controls. If they can just get them to be like Dead Space 2, primo. Dead Space 2 was amazing. I really liked it on this. I didn't get into a lot of combat because these are initial thoughts. I just wanted to really see how it just initially played. Love Dead Space on it. I'm definitely gonna be playing a lot of Dead Space on this. Now I played Star Wars games and some other games on the Steam Deck yesterday for May the 4th. You can go watch that video. I'll have the description I'll have the link to the video in the description below. And I had a mixed experience where even some of the old Star Wars games, the old ones would work. But one like the Jedi Knight one, I believe is what it's called, crashed, and then everything else kind of just ran really well. Like I was really impressed. Rogue Squadron, the new one, ran well, and also Jedi Order, that one was beautiful. It was in the end a great experience. This truly is PC gaming on your handheld device. The only caveat I will say is that for extreme PC gamers that really want like that huge high fidelity, this isn't going to be your ultimate go-to unless you're like me and have a lot of things you have to get done in a day, including running YouTube, job, kids, all that stuff. This is a really good device for me. But if you plan on playing on your desk a lot, I think a traditional PC is just going to be a better way. This is a good secondary, and for me, it's the perfect secondary. If I had to choose, I'd still choose a main PC over a Steam Deck, but this is my perfect companion to my PC, and I really don't need a Switch anymore. That being said, I will be getting my Switch games on here, and I do plan on using this still because I still have Switch games I love, and I do like my Switch. I'm just going to gift it to my kid now. I'd really like this a lot more. We'll do a comparison video in the future on the Steam Deck versus Switch, and it's going to be more or less just a comparison of why you might want to get one or the other and which ones do well. And don't get me wrong, Switch does some things really well actually. So we'll be going to a lot of that. And in the end, like if you're a gamer and you're not hardcore online gamer, then you're gonna like this device too. Like meaning if you're just the only reason is you wake up to play Call of Duty on your Xbox, I don't know if I could recommend this, especially since a lot of the online games just don't run on this quite yet, especially if it has anti-cheat for online purposes. But I know some people play Switch games that are online and they love it, and so it all depends on the person. But in the end, I think to be really honest, if you're a console gamer, you don't find yourself sitting down as much anymore, this is also a good device for you. So if you're a PC gamer or a console gamer and you need something on the go more, and that's where you potentially might find yourself playing more, I'd get this over on Xbox or PlayStation. 100%, I think this could replace your console. Could it replace your PC? Not so much, but then again, I'm a power user. I do a lot of game development and a lot of other things on my PC, so it's gonna be hard to replace that. If I was purely a gamer, Potentially I would actually replace this, potentially. I do still like maxing out my games at times, and I do plan on doing remote play from my PC to my Steam Deck with the really intense games that I find myself being lazy and I want to play it. I still will play it probably half the time on my PC, half the time on my Steam Deck. We'll find out though. This has been my initial thoughts into a review, but it's not really a review. We're gonna have a more in-depth, because there's certain aspects of this I really want to hit on hard. Really, it's a great device. It is a little raw, but the experience is better than I've had on any other console launch, meaning you can play a lot of games on this thing. And that's my initial thought on this launch. That being said, is it the same thing? No, not necessarily, as like a new gen console coming out where they usually have new types of games to play on the strengths of the console. This though, the strengths are that you can play almost anything on it, and it is amazing. Now, before I get any further into this video, I'm gonna go back to playing some Steam Deck. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to comment down in the comment below what you think of just the Steam Deck, these initial thoughts that I've had. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm curious. This is, I think, a game changer, and I think it's going to open up a new generation of just handheld PC gaming for the next decade. I think we're going to see some cool generational stuff, but we'll save more of that for the for the reviews and also for your comments. So thank you guys for watching. Check out my other videos, and I'll catch you later. Peace out. Later.